Over 250 changes are coming to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Today, I want to highlight some of the really big ones that we should expect to see here very soon. And this is something that, whether it's Gun or Sumo, whoever, has been promising for the longest time. They've been building up to this. And while we've seen, some pretty consistent patch updates, they've been really small ones. And they've always been talking about, whether through community or through their own posts, that they're trying to build the game up and get it as solid as possible. So that way, when they drop more significant patches like the one we're seeing now, the game can handle it and it's going to be in a good state. These changes are really, really important, though, and something that most of the community has been asking for, whether you're a killer main or a victim main. I think a lot of y'all are going to be happy. And of course, I want to hear your opinion after the video. I've done a lot of updates so far on this game, and this one is definitely one of the biggest ones, if not the biggest one so far. Let me know if you like my content that I do here on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and other games. Consider subscribing. Let's go and get into it. Well, if you're a Leatherface main especially, you're going to be happy with this one. Everybody's going to be happy with this one. You see how annoying and frustrating that is? If you've played 100 or 200 or 500 matches at this point, and you've seen that every single game, it is infuriating, and no longer do we have to worry about it very soon here, boys. So I'm happy to report that they're going to put a little banner up at the top of the screen letting everybody know that Grandpa's awake, but no longer do you have to worry about this really annoying cutscene, having your chainsaw overheat, losing track of victims, or just being aggravated by seeing the same cutscene over and over and over. Thank goodness it's coming out of the game. Another small quality of life thing for family members is sometimes your grandpa perks would just disappear. It could be as extreme as from game to game, or what I've seen most of the time, it's just like, every time you turn your game on that day, it'll disappear, you turn it on, and it's there. It's a small change, but it needs to be fixed for sure. Now, here's one that we can all agree on, I think. When 5 out of 7 people have readied up and the lobby's full, the timer will go down to 30 seconds. Not really much I have to say about this, but getting into matches, especially as victims right now, is really atrocious. And so anything they can do to help speed up the process to get us into the game faster is much appreciated and needed. This is a big one. Another significant one is they're fixing the valve location on Slaughterhouse. It's the only valve tank that's in the basement for some reason, and while it's manageable if you have a team with good communication, but man, it can be tough. You're trying to patrol this thing once they get the valve handle on there, and then of course you get stabbed in the back, and it's pretty much a nightmare at this point. So they're going to be moving that upstairs. Obviously, just looking at Slaughterhouse itself, they're probably going to move it, I would guess, maybe in the corner by the holding pen, somewhere on Slaughterhouse side, I would think. Maybe in between where holding pen is and the building right there where the ladder comes up. So somewhere right in there, I assume, is where it will go, but it's good that it's coming upstairs like the rest of the valves in the game. So another thing that they're doing, because the valve is kind of a tricky exit, once you attach the handle and you turn it on, if the family comes behind you and turns it back off, assuming they don't get stabbed in the back, the progress, it never gets lost for the victims. And so now what they're doing is once you turn it off as the family, it will repressurize the tank. So it kind of makes you go back through and have to spend more time and not just be able to instantly go right back to it and just shut it right back on. This is a pretty tricky area because it's one of those things you can't remove the valve handle, which is something that I was kind of a proponent of. If you can remove it, it would just automatically go back to where it spawned in the first place, and then the victims would have to go through the process again. But I think this is a fair compromise. The handle stays in place, but it will repressurize once the family turns it back off. Now, they're working on a variety of different perks. I'm not going to go through all of them, but one I did want to point out for victim mains is that your no-cell perk will actually work better to reduce damage from Leatherface when he does his overhead attack. That way you don't get insta-killed right off the rip. And so I think that's a pretty fair thing that they're doing. I mean, if you have a character like Ana, who can take an incredible amount of damage plus no cell, that's where it becomes a little bit aggravating, but still, nobody wants to be insta killed right off the rip. And I play Leatherface a lot. He's a very satisfying character to play as, but at the same time, with wait times the way they are, everybody gets into the lobby, and then, I've gotten kills really quickly in this game right off the rip. It is pretty disappointing. So if you're running that perk after they do this fix, it will give you a little bit more breathing room against Leatherface in that specific attack. Now, another thing they're doing is they're fixing Cook's ability. So now you can be crouch walking and you don't have to worry about being pinged by him, but also the amount of time, the duration of that ping, being outlined in bright red is going to be significantly reduced, which I think is a fair thing. I mean, his perk is pretty OP. And so once you're pinged by him, it's really hard to get away from that. So they're fixing that as well. Here's another big one. I mean, this is like everything we've been asking for. The smokehouse door in gas station is closed. So that exit they're saying it's being reworked, but I assume they're just going to close it because that's like the 5th exit in the gas station map. You already got the generator, you got the valve exit, you got the battery, you got the basement. So that was the 5th exit in the game. And so they're closing that down, which is fantastic news for everybody that hates guarding that exit. Now, I'll be honest with you, once they've reworked that map and done some things with it, where the gas station exit that we're talking about was really popular, and then the fuse exit was really popular. Now it's the battery exit that's really popular, and the valve sometimes. So it's nice that, hey, there's only 4 exits we got to worry about now in that map once the patch comes out. They're doing some things with Johnny. They're fixing his ability, like it wouldn't allow you to track certain footprints and stuff, and other perks and abilities they're actually working on. They're doing some grappling tuning, perk rebalancing, and party disbanding issues. All really good things. Like I said, this truly is the biggest update that we've gotten so far. And this is what they've been saying, and they've stuck to their word. So with this coming in, new map coming in, new character, new victim, new killer, the game's going to be hopefully in a much better state after everything that they've fixed here so far. Now, as far as an ETA when this patch is coming, they said once they know they can fulfill the date they're going to announce, then they will go ahead and tell everybody. My best guess is the end of this month. I don't really know, though. I mean, that's really just a guess. I believe the new map, victim and killer, are coming in just a couple of weeks, the middle of November, and that's another guess there. That's not confirmed, but just from the kind of timeline of things they've been dropping and hinting at, that's my best guess. They might release all this stuff all at once, so maybe it's an early December thing. I'm not too sure, but we know we're at least getting this stuff, and that's the most important part. Love to hear your opinion, man. What do you think about the fixes? Maybe some other things you want to see, or are you still enjoying the game? I guess is one of the biggest things. If you like what I do, consider subscribing. See y'all in the next one, and as always, hold 'em down.